Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a bombshell update regarding Democratic Representative Sri Thanidar's impeachment effort against President Trump. And folks, I'll tell you what, it just collapsed in what is perhaps the most incompetent and hilarious way possible. You see, yesterday afternoon, Representative Sri Thanidar's impeachment push crumbled under overwhelming opposition from his own Democratic Party, exposing their complete and total lack of unity. Really, they're like a bunch of chickens with their heads cut off, running around aimlessly with absolutely no plan to combat President Trump's agenda. And so check this out. The Democrats themselves dismissed every single one of Representative Sri Thanidar's 7 articles of impeachment against President Trump, which alleged obstruction, bribery, tyrannical overreach. The Democrats themselves called all of these allegations baseless and politically motivated, proving that President Trump's America First agenda right now is untouchable. Now, this is where things get a little bit hilarious and also just pathetic. You see, Representative Sri Thanidar personally filed all 7 of those articles of impeachment, but then he failed to convene a congressional vote in time, ultimately missing his own deadline. This proves his complete and total incompetence, an absolutely humiliating flop for the progressive left's endless witch hunt against President Trump. So very clearly, this impeachment was nothing but a self-serving publicity stunt to bolster Representative Sri Thanidar's image amongst his radically progressive constituents, but unfortunately for him, it backfired spectacularly, leaving him exposed as a desperate, out-of-touch, incompetent Democrat. But you know what, folks? Speaking of Sri Thanidar's constituents, take a look at this.
What are the 5 Grosse Points cities?
Well, look, I'm not here to answer a quiz. I'm here to say that I'm going to fight for the people of Detroit. I'm going to fight for my constituents.
And Grosse Pointe
and all of the Grosse
Taylor.
Points and all of Taylor and every every part of the 13th district.
I'm just do this real quick. Grosse Pointe Park, Grosse Pointe Woods, Grosse Pointe Farms, and Grosse Pointe Shores. Okay.
Right.
You know, on your campaign filings, it says occupation. Yours says United States government. Aren't you employed by the people of the United States?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, you fix that one.
Folks, how embarrassing was that? Now, we have a lot to talk about here, of course, but before we do, I want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a lot. But okay, take a look at this. The reality is, Representative Sri Thanidar doesn't even know who his own constituents are. He is really the poster child for out-of-touch Democrats fumbling basic facts about his own Detroit area district with an absolutely stunning level of incompetence. And I'll tell you what, his cluelessness is exactly why the congressional Democrats have an abysmally low national approval rating of 21% right now. Americans are fed up with their shallow performative theatrics, and Sri Thanidar's stunt just proves they are a complete and total joke. But so folks, here's the truth. The American people have really rejected all of this anti-Trump witch hunting, which ultimately forced the Democrats to ditch their support of Representative Sri Thanidar's impeachment resolution. They already impeached President Trump 2 times, so why did they think a 3rd time would even work? Americans across the country have sent a crystal clear message. We are done with the radically partisan antics of the Democratic Party. They are wasting time on baseless political stunts. Meanwhile, President Trump is delivering nonstop victories for the America First agenda that we all voted for. And now, folks, let me tell you something here that the Democrats don't want you to know. With the Republicans controlling both the House and the Senate, Representative Sri Thanidar's impeachment efforts had absolutely zero chance of success, which concretely proves that this was just yet another pathetic example of the never-ending performative theatrics coming from the progressive left. And I'll tell you what, if the Democrats focused less on incompetent impeachment stunts like this and more on actually helping Americans, maybe their approval ratings wouldn't be so catastrophically low at, once again, 21%. Their obsession with attacking President Trump only proves that they have no solutions for our nation's problems. And so here's the fallout from this entire situation. Representative Shri Thanidar's political stunt has just further alienated moderate Democrats, driving them away from an already shrinking party. Year after year, the Republican Party has continued to grow. Meanwhile, the Democrats are just bleeding support, all because the American people are finally beginning to see through the endless virtue signaling nonsense of the progressive left. But now, after his impeachment efforts failed, Representative Shri Thanidar took to the podium to express his utter confusion. Take a look at this.
Said nobody has said to me, Mr. Thanidar, the 7 articles of impeachment that you presented to the U.S. Congress, they're piece of shit. You know, they're not good. You missed the point. They're not legally right. He didn't do that. No one says that.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, pardon my language, but this guy is just stupid. He actually thought that his impeachment plan was some sort of genius, masterful political play. He's genuinely baffled why his own party totally abandoned him. Once again, here's the truth. His plan was completely and totally incompetent, and even his progressive allies saw that. Democrats do not control the House or the Senate. They could not impeach President Trump even if they wanted to. They just don't have the numbers, period. And so it's these humiliating maneuvers from the Democrats, when compared to President Trump's relentless successes, show exactly why the Americans view the Democratic Party as a laughingstock. They are not a serious political party. No, they're an absolute joke, and that's why nobody supports them anymore. And so I'll tell you what's really happening here. Representative Shri Thanidar's embarrassing failure is yet another victory for the America First agenda. We are done with all of these incompetent progressive theatrics. Now it is time to put America first. And you know what? As long as the Democrats keep flopping like this, we won't have to worry about suffering any losses anytime soon. Like we said earlier, the progressives are absolutely bleeding support right now because Americans across the country have said enough is enough. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, we are making this country great again, and we are putting America first. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up, I do want to say real quick that we officially have a Morse News Twitter page as well as a Morse News Facebook page. So if you use either of those platforms, please go down below and drop a follow in order to get breaking news updates that relate to everything we talk about here in the YouTube videos. But everyone, that is going to be a wrap for today's video, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there, and like I said earlier, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.